theyeshiva.net.
On Pesachim Davav Amud Aleph, the Gemarah explores a fascinating machloikis between Abayei and Rava, analyzing, dissecting, and explaining the words of Rabbi Yehuda in the name of Rav. Rabbi Yehuda in the name of Rav made a simple distinction. Well, it's not so simple. He made a distinction between somebody who leaves his home within the 30 days before Pesach. That person, before leaving home, must do biur chametz, versus a person who left his home prior to the 30-day period before Pesach, and this person doesn't have to do biur chametz. That was the only thing that Rav said, and Rabbi Yehuda quoted it in his name. But that's still ambiguous. It's not so clear what it means. We just see that there's a distinction. If I leave my house on Chanukah before Pesach, I don't have to worry about the chametz. I could just leave. I could leave the house as is. If I leave the house after Purim, before Pesach, then Rav said you have to do biur chametz. Came Abayei and Rava and debated the meaning of these words. This debate is quite a fascinating debate. What Rav meant. Now I want you to always have the history in mind, it'll be clearer. Rav was the first generation of Abayei. He is the transition, he is the person represents the period of transition from the Tanoim to the Abayei, and he's a Rosh Yeshiva in Bavel, in Babylonia, the Rosh Yeshiva of a yeshiva in Surah. His colleague Shmuel, and he and Shmuel argue very often in Shas, is Rosh Yeshiva of Pumbedis, another city in Bavel. One of Rav's most important pupils is Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda is the second generation of Abayei. Abayei and Rava are the fourth generation of Abayei. They also live in Bavel in the 300s, the end of the 200s and the 300s, the 4th century after the Common Era. Abayei is the Rosh Yeshiva of Pumbedisa. Rava is a colleague of Abayei. He lives in Mechuzah. When Abayei passes away, the Yeshiva of Pumbedisa goes over to him. And that's why there's so many debates between Rav and Shmuel, the first generation of Abayei, between Abayei and Rava, or the 4th generation of Abayei. In this case, they heard from Rabbi Yehuda, in the name of Rabbi Yehuda, what Rav said. Rabbi Yehuda is the second generation. And Abayei and Rava are now arguing what this means. So now you understand, Rabbi Yehuda said something in the name of Rav. Rabbi Yehuda heard it from Rav. He was a student of Rav. And then Abayei and Rav are arguing what Rav meant, because it's not so clear what Rav meant. What did Abayei teach us? Abayei says that Rav was talking about a person who's planning to come home for Pesach. That's the big question. Are you leaving and you're coming home, or you're not coming home? He's talking about a man who's planning to come home for Pesach. Rava says no. He's talking about a guy who's never coming home. He's not planning to come home for Pesach. That's the key argument. Abayei says Rav is talking about a guy who's leaving, but he's coming back. He's going to be here for Pesach. He's just going for a while. Rava says absolutely not. Rav was talking about a case where he's not coming back. Rav didn't say what he's talking about. He just said if you leave before 30 days, you have to do beer. You don't have to do beer. If you leave within 30 days, you have to do beer. What does it mean to leave? Abayei says leave and come back. Rava says no, absolutely not. It's leave and not come back. How does this manifest itself? It manifests itself that Abayei says the guy is coming back. If he's coming back, it means, when I said before 30 days you don't have to do biur chametz, it means even if you're coming back. For sure, if you're not coming back, but even if you're coming back for Pesach, you'll do biur chametz. When I said within 30 days you have to do biur chametz, it's talking about what? If you're coming back. If you're not coming back, you don't have to do biur chametz. So if you're not coming back to your house for Pesach, I don't care when you leave. I don't care when you leave. As long as before the Zman of B'dikas Chametz, you leave your Aleph Nisr, your Chodesh Nisr, your Beis Nisr, your Gimel Nisr, Purim, after Purim, before Purim, you're not coming back. You never have to do B'dikas Chametz, even within 30 days. He said within 30 days you have to do, only if you're coming back. Well, he said before 30 days you don't have to do, even if you're coming back. That's Abayei's Chiddush, which obviously is far more lenient. Rava said you misunderstood Rav. That's not what he meant. Rav meant a situation where you're not coming back. So when he says before 30 days you don't have to do biur chametz, he means because you're not coming back. If you're coming back, even Rosh Hashanah you have to do biur chametz. if you're coming back. He meant the case where you're not coming back. And when he said within 30 days, you have to do bir chametz, he was talking about a case where you're not coming back and you still have to do bir chametz. For sure, if you're coming back, you have to do bir chametz within 30 days. But even if you're not coming back, you have to do bir chametz within 30 days. That's an argument. It's a big argument with very practical ramifications. Yeah?
Meaning coming back during the not before.
That's a good question. Did he mean coming back in middle of Pesach, or did he mean coming back before Pesach? Good question. So if you look in Rashi, Daitoi Lachzor, take a look at Rashi, 4 lines from the bottom. What does Rashi say? Daitoi Lachzor? Bimei HaPesach, you see? That's how I know your question was a good question. Why does Rashi say Daitoi Lachzor Bimei HaPesach and not before? Huh? Or you could say not after, but the Parshas Rashi is saying he's coming back in the middle of Pesach. If he wants to come back 2 years later for Pesach,
Means skipping one Pesach and coming in the middle of the next Pesach.
but he's going to come back in the middle of Pesach. So I don't care if it's 10 years Pesach. I mean, unless the bread is going to go too moldy, it won't be roy lachilas kelev. So that's the machloikus. To put the machloikus, if you want, in different words, according to Abayei, to be mechuyev and bir chametz, when you leave your house, you need 2 conditions. Condition number 1 is it's within 30 days, right? Condition number 2 is you're coming home for Pesach. If both of those conditions are met, then you're mechuyev. If any one of these conditions are not met, you're not mechuyev. Meaning, if it's before 30 days, you're never mechuyev, even if you're coming back. And if you're not coming back, even within 30 days, and you're leaving, you don't have to do bir chametz. Much more lenient position. Much easier on the person. Rava, on the other hand, says no. Each one of these conditions, each one of the 2 is enough to be mechayiv and bir chametz. If you're there within 30 days and you leave, I don't care if you never come back. Even if you're leaving forever, you're moving, you're not coming back. Could be not coming back for 40 years, you're not coming back. Right? You have to be, you have to do bir chametz. On the other hand, if you're planning to come back, even if it's 8 months before Pesach, you have to do bir chametz. According to Abayei, you need both conditions. What? Within 30 days and Daitoi Lachzor. And that's what Rav was talking about. Mashiach, according to Rava, one of the conditions is enough. Yeah?
So what's the Abayei is doing with the first condition? Doesn't matter if you come 30 days or 60 days, you coming in the middle of basically you have comments.
So obviously everybody holds that 30 days is an important marker of time. Everybody holds that, because if not, they wouldn't make any distinctions.
So not Abayei, even if before 30 days, if he comes back anytime.
Great question. So that's what was bothering us. According to Abayei, it's a great question. He comes back on Pesach, right? And what happens? He walks into a house full of frozen pizza, full of sponge cake, full of vodka, full of bagels, full of hopefully frozen challah, although during Abayei's days they didn't have our freezers, obviously. That's a gewaldige question. Wonderful question. He's coming back. How do you allow this to happen? That's question number 1, right? Meila, if it's within 30 days, Abayei said you have to do bir chametz. But if it's before 30 days and Daitoi Lachzor, and you still say you don't have to do bir chametz, how can he be so lenient? How can Abayei believe that this is what Rav held? That's question number 1. What's question number 2? Question number 2 is, even on Rava, certainly on Abayei, but even on Rava. What does Rava say? If you leave before 30 days and you're not planning to come home, you don't have to do bir chametz, right? So when you're away, what's going to be with all your chametz on Pesach? It's going to be in your house. How could Rava tolerate that? Taki, you're not going to come home, I know. If you're going to come home, I know you did bir chametz, you're good. I'm not worried. Rava is good. That's only a question I'll buy. But even if you're not coming home, like you said yesterday, you're not allowed to have chametz in your house. Big problem. How can he tolerate this? Within Shloshim Yoim, he said you always have to do bir chametz. You come back, you don't come back, so we're not worried about within Shloshim, because Taki Rava doesn't let you leave without bir chametz. But before Shloshim, how can he let you leave without bir chametz? Ah? Which Abayei is he over? He's over on the Abayei that you're not allowed to have chametz in b'chol gvulcha, in any of your properties. In any of your properties. How can Rava tolerate this? So that's the problem. Even Rava, who is taka being much more stringent, he's not allowing you just to leave your house and come back in the middle of Pesach with a house full of chametz, but still, he also agrees that you're allowed to have chametz in your house without anything. This is the challenge of the sugya. Yeah.
Before we started this whole thing, going, coming, I have a house in Australia. You know, I'm learning till now.
That what?
I have to deal with the chametz still. I mean, but I'm going away. I'm not going away. I'm gonna have to deal with the chametz.
You have a house in Australia, and you have to deal with the chametz. We spoke about, okay. Now, by us, Baruch Hashem, we live in a time when very many people, including some people sitting in this room, have more than one home. Yeah. Baruch Hashem, it's a gewaldige thing. Some people have 3 homes. Some people have 5 homes. There's different reasons for it.
Some of the concept of...
Good. I'm saying you have to understand this was not always a conceivable idea. A. B. When the Gemara spoke before about B'chol Gvulcha, it said, Boiris, Shichin, Mairis. You have a pit, you have a cistern, you have a silo. That was the hasaga. The hasaga was not in your house, yeah? In your garage, what we would call a garage. They didn't have garages then. A stable. These types of places that are outside of your house, but it's b'chol gvulcha, right? So yes, we naturally apply it also, when we talk about it, to your homes in Florida and in Israel and in Switzerland. Where else do you have a house? I don't mean you, whatever. Where do you want to have a house? Where do you want to have a house? Israel, okay.
Why should Abayei even think that you don't have to, you have to deal with it? You're going to come home with his question.
Gewaldige shaila. That's the shaila. What's the havamin? And what's the maskana? He says it the maskana also. Not the havamin. Huh? Oh. So one way of learning the Gemara is, the diuk is levayer. And that's what some Rishonim say. The Chidush Haran says it, the Tosfos Harosh say it, some of the Rishonim touch the Gemara, that don't confuse Bittle and beer. Don't confuse it. I'll quote it to you. I saw this morning the Chidush Haran, the way he says it very clearly. And he says, if you just learn it this way, the sugya becomes clear. It's not so dramatic. Even if Daite Lagzer. Even if Daite Lagzer.
You don't have to discuss it if it's more than 30 days.
He says, does anybody ask a question? He discusses Rashi. He's very perturbed by what Rashi says, which we'll get to in a moment, the shit of Rashi. But he says, I don't understand this. Of course you need Bittle. B'chol gvulcha, wherever you are, you have chametz. You're over and by your Rava, you need Bittle. It's an obvious thing that you need Bittle. Midoy Raisa bebittel ba'alma sagile, right? Madoch with bittel, you're not over chametz on your counter. For sure, you're not going to be over chametz in a different country, right? Bittel is enough minat Torah. So basically, they don't have a problem. Erev Pesach in the morning, you could be in London or in Melbourne or in Sydney or in Moscow, right? Or in the Congo, or wherever you want to go. Where do they go today for Pesach? You're in Greece. You're in Greece on an island in Crete. Wake up in the morning, be mevatel your chametz. All my chametz is hefker. It's ownerless. It's afar. It doesn't belong to me. I'm not interested in it. That's it. You're good. You didn't do bdika. You didn't do beer. And here I have to mention, somebody texted me yesterday. What if you sold your house to a goy? If you sold your house to a goy, this whole sugya is not negeya. Then it's not your house. What happens if you sold your house 5 years ago to a goy? You also mechuyev be a chametz. If you sell your house to a guy, the whole house, then this whole sugya is not negay. It's not your chametz. You're going to buy it back from him after Pesach? Fine, tavi alacha bracha. But then it's not an issue. Abayei and Rava are not talking about when we think you're going away to Pesach to Orlando, you're going away to some program, or to Yerushalayim, and you sell your house. You don't need your house for whatever. You sell your house, or you sell part of your house to a guy with his chametz, fine. Then it's not your chametz. When Dikas chametz comes, when Pesach comes, when the chiyuv tashbisu b'yirah comes, it's not your house anymore. We're not talking about that, obviously. So the Chidush Haran says, and other Rishonim also, obviously you do bittul. Obviously you have to do bittul. That's not a shaila. And b'meila erev Pesach in the morning, wherever you are, you have to be mevatel chametz, and therefore you're cleared. Say according to Abayei, say according to Rava.
Rav basic didn't even discuss it.
None of them. Rav just says a din. Huh? Right. So he says the question was beer. There is a chiyuv of beer besides Bittle. So here's the question. Rav said, before Shloshim, you don't have to be mevayer. In other words, even though the Chachamim said you have to be mevayer, we don't just rely on Bittle. We have to do DeCambiar. You have to get rid of the chametz. You're not allowed to have chametz in your house. Again, your chametz, we know that if it's a guy's chametz and you put it away and you put a mechitza and you don't take achrayus, you're good. But we're talking about your chametz you're not allowed to have in your house. I can't just say I was mevatel my chametz and leave the pantry there. Somebody say, I don't want to sell my chametz to a guy. I was mevatel chametz. Doesn't work that way. You're not allowed to have chametz in your house. You have a challah in your freezer. You have a chiyuv midirabbanan to be mevayer the chametz. So Rav said, if you leave before Shloshim Yom, you don't have to do it. I don't care. If you leave within Shloshim Yom, you have to do it. Abayei and Rava now argue what it means. Abayei said he's talking about coming back for Pesach. So if you come back even before Shloshim Yom, I don't care. Even though you're going to come back to what? To a house full of chametz, I don't care. Because you did Bittle. Rava said, no, that doesn't make sense. Why doesn't it make sense? Because you're going to come back, and you may come to eat the chametz. I know you did Bittle. But the Chachamim wanted beer for a reason. They were scared you're going to eat it. If you're not coming back, I don't care. You're going to be in London. Gesundheit, you'll never eat your chametz. I don't care. But if you're coming back, Rava says you can't deal with such a mahalach. You have to be mevayer chametz before you leave. Why? You may come to eat it. Abayei says, before 30 days, there's no chiyuv of beer on me. There's no chiyuv. You're right. If I was in my house before Pesach, I have to do beer chametz. Abayei doesn't deny that. It's a Mishnah. Abayei says before 30 days, that chiyuv didn't begin. I don't have to worry about it. I am going to come back in the middle of chametz, in the middle of Pesach. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Make sure you don't eat it. You're not allowed to eat chametz. Make sure you don't eat it. Rava said, absolutely not. If you're coming back, Abayei just said, if you're leaving within 30 days. If you're not coming back, I don't care. But if you're coming back within 30 days, since it's already within 30 days, there's already an obligation on you to worry about Pesach. As we're going to see later, everyone says 30 days is an important marker because we're going to learn later that you start the halachas, you start learning the halachas 30 days before, which we learn from Torah. That means Torah itself says that from 30 days, Al Pi Torah, 30 days before Pesach, you have to start getting anxious. 30 days, that's how it's 30 days before Pesach, the anxiety has to set in. The point is actually says challah. You're right, but there's a chiyuv at this time. I have to start being conscientious. Matzah, mor, charoises, aseder. Do I know the manishtana? Don't I know the manishtana? And so forth.
You're allowed to have and not allowed to have.
So Mela Abayei says that within 30 days I already have to worry about the Shema Yavei La'achloi. If I'm not coming back, I don't care. But if I'm coming back, that's Abayei. What does Rava say? Rava is much more stringent. Even if you're coming back, if you're leaving before, but you know you're coming back, don't tell me you left 6 months before. You may come to eat it. In middle of Shloshim Yom, if you leave, you also have to do it because already he holds within Shloshim Yom the chiyuvim of before Pesach begin, because you're not going to be here the night of B'dikas Chametz, so it gets pushed up earlier, right? Just like a tainus. You can't do it on Shabbos, yeah? Sometimes you're ma'achrin, sometimes you're makdimin. Here you can't be ma'achri, you can't do B'dikas Chametz after Pesach. You could, but it's not going to help you for this. So we do it earlier, because you're leaving. Before 30 days, not. But within 30 days, you got to do your B'dikas. You're not coming back. Ein echanami. That's Rava's Shitta. Abayei says, no, only if you're coming back.
Abayei takes away the whole time.
No.
You made it before 30 days.
No, Abayei holds that if you're in your house, of course you have to do B'dikas Chametz.
Before 30 days, you die till last.
Then you're good. You don't have to.
He takes away the whole takana.
He takes away the whole takana because before 30 days. Now we have to understand what's the svara samachlekes between Abayei and Rava. We'll get to that in one moment. This is one mahalach. However, it's not so pasha to say that Rav was talking about a case where there's for sure bittul. You could touch it like that, right? But when you look at Rashi, you see that he didn't touch it like that. At least, not simple interpretation of Rashi. And it's interesting, because this Amid has many statements of Rabbi Yehuda Amar Rav. Rabbi Yehuda Amar Rav spoke about finding chametz on Pesach in Yom Tov, right? And put a keli. Over there, Rashi said he did do Bittle. Over there, Rashi said he did do Bittle. That's why you could put a keli. We spoke in the earlier Shul, the Rambam disagrees, but that's what Rashi holds. Suddenly in this Gemarah, Rashi could have said the same thing, the same Rav. Of course there's Bittle. Just like the Ran says. Rashi doesn't say that. What does Rashi say? And this is where the sugya becomes very lebedik, because there's no easy way to smooth it over. All the problems that you asked, right? If you take a look in Rashi, Rashi says, Afilu mi Rosh Hashanah nami, right? 4 lines from Afilu mi Rosh Hashanah nami. We're going to read again the words of Rashi. The chihader bibi meya pesach ovar alei. Rava says, when you come back, you're over. Vahi shaitel abishu seidel avatlei. And then you can't be mavatel anymore. Sherei isra no huvein shaloi. It's not yours. Bittle can't be done on Pesach. Ukshero eyu oiver aleha. When you see it, you're over on it. On what? On the isra of bal yera u bal yimatzeh. Over alei, not aleha. Over alei is over on the isra of chametz. Okay, what does Rashi say here? Rava tells Abayei what you say can't make sense. Why? Because when I come back, I'm going to be over. No, was there Bittle? If there was Bittle, I wasn't over. Rashi says there was no Bittle, and I can't be Mavatal when I come back. You know why? Because it's Pesach.
That's the Russian understanding of Abayei.
Right, so according to Rashi, what do we see? What do you mean? Abayei says, Rava, you misunderstood me. You do Bittle in London, wherever you are, before Pesach, you do Bittle. You want to come back Chalamayit, come back. Rava, that's what he should have told him. Rava says, no, you're going to be over. Why are you going to be over? According to the Ran, the Pshat was Shema Yavei La'achloi. That's a different thing. You're not being over. You may come to have a problem. Rashi says you're over and you can't do Bittle anymore because it's just around 9. When you see it, you're over. If so, Abayei didn't know this. Abayei didn't want you come back in the middle of Pesach, you have a house full of chametz. But the question becomes even stronger. And when you're away from your house, and if you're not coming back, you're not over. If you don't see it, you're not over. We just spoke about Bal Monsey. You don't have to see it. It has to be there. If I don't see chametz, I'm not over. If chametz is in a safe, I'm not over. If chametz is under my couch, I'm not over. Bal Monsey means you're not allowed to even hide it, right? Yatmin, we learned in the Fayam base. So first of all, even according to Rava, this doesn't make sense. Because if you're not coming back, you're still over. But according to Abayei, the question is stronger. You come back to a house full of Pesach without Bittle, no bdika. You come back in the middle of Pesach, a good morgen, a house filled with chametz. Wow. You want to come to me to eat Shabbos Chalamayit Sukkos? Of course, the dining room is filled with chametz. And Abayei said, I got no issue. But Torah Shloishim, I have no question, Abayei. Abayei also agreed if you're coming back, you have to do chametz. You have to do beer. But before Shloishim. So there's something here in Rashi. How do you understand Rashi? So this is a gewaldige kasha on the sugya. How does Rashi learned something? Rashi understood something. And the explanation to this is based on an insight of the Ran into a possible interpretation of the sugya. And the Maharsha explains that this is what Rashi meant. That there's actually, Rav was saying a big chiddush. And that's the chiddush. And the chiddush that he was saying is that lo yimatzeh includes 2 words, 2 meanings. Lo yimatzeh means it shouldn't be found. The word matzui in Hebrew doesn't only mean found. It also means accessible. It's matzui. A davar matzui means something common. So you say this is common. Einoi matzui means it's not common. Or in different words, this is accessible. This is not accessible. In a different context, you say common, uncommon. So lo yimatzeh means shiva samsar lo yimatzeh bevateichem u lo yira lecha chametz lo yira lecha sar. But before that it says lo yimatzeh teaches me I'm not allowed to have it. But what am I not allowed to have? Chametz that's matzeh. It's going to be found and it's going to be accessible. Where is it an afkamin halacha? Naflal of mapoilus. If there's an earthquake, there's an avalanche, chas v'shalom, and somebody's house or one. Let's take an example, a tragic example. A missile comes from Gaza in Sderot, Kvar Hoya Lo'elamim, Hoya Le'Siya, right? And a bedroom caves in, a bedroom ceiling falls down, it hits a bedroom, and it happens to be full of chametz. What's the chiyuv before? I'm not talking about the inyanim of pikuach now. I'm talking after the dust settles, do I have to do beer chametz over there? The halacha is chametz shenafal of mapoilus. If there's a pile of rubble on top of the chametz, hareyu kemavur. You know it's there. And if you take a shovel, you can access it. If it's in the open, it's not good. If a dog can get to it, it's also not good. But if it's really under rubble and you need to get lopetus, you need to get shovels to uncover it, hareyu kemavur. You could be there a whole Pesach, and you're not mechuyev to do b'dika or beer. Why not? It's kemavur. It's not destroyed. It's there. It's right under there. Maybe safe and protected. But the Chachamim treated it kemavur. Why? Because it's yimatzei, but it's not matzui. It's here, but it's not here. It's here, but I don't have access to it. Let's put it this way. To get access to it is going to require a lot of pain and agony and work. The Chachamim still said to be mevatel it. But not because you have to. Even without Bittle, you're not going to be over. Why are you not going to be over? Because the Torah said, lo yimatzei. It's not matzui. It's certainly lo yehirot. You don't see it, but it's also not matzui. The Chachamim said, just in case chalamoyet, your wife tells you, I can't live in such a house. And she forces you to take 3 shovels and to shvitz avek yoyman v'layla until you get rid of the rubble. And suddenly the chametz gets exposed and it's yimatzei. And it's the middle of Pesach, and you can't do Bittle anymore. So now you have to get rid of the chametz. And if you delay 5 minutes, you're going to be Abayei. So just do Bittle before Pesach, and then you're done. Even if you uncover the chametz, you're good. But that's a chiyuv d'Rabbanan, simply for simply to remove a caution. Your Teves? Oy bazoi, this is pshat. This could be pshat in the Rashi. What's the pshat in the Rashi? I'm going to quote it to you the way he puts it, the way he explains this shitta in Siman Tov Lamed Vav. Just says it very geschmack in Shulchan Aruch Harav in Siman Tov Lamed Vav. And he says like this. He says, even if you have a lot of chametz in your house, he's talking the shitta of Rava. We'll soon see the shitta of Abayei. Even if you have a lot of chametz in your house, according to this interpretation, you don't have to do anything if you leave before 30 days. According to Rava, if you're not going to come back. Why? You have a house filled with chametz on Pesach. The answer is, you're not over on Bal Yiro and Bal Yimotzi at all on the chametz in your house. Why? Kivon she'enoi motzu yetzloi b'meis Pesach. You're not next door. You're in Sydney, Australia. The Gemarah said you went into a sea. You went through the ocean. You went overseas. How are you going to get there on Pesach? Einay matzui, it's not accessible. V'atoira amra lo yimatzei, misha matzui biyotcha. V'arei chametz zen nechshev etzli chametz shenafal of mapoilus. It's just like the chametz is in my house, but there's a pile of rubble. Even then you're not over. Certainly when I'm overseas, it's much better than when the chametz is on the rubble. The chametz is not only on the rubble, the chametz is 6,000 miles away from me because I went through a desert or I went through a sea. Again, we're not talking about a guy who went for Pesach to his daughter's house in the next shtetl. That's not called lo yamatzeh. Then we're not talking about that. He says, "Hamefarish v'hayoytzi lemidbar, hayoytzi b'shayor." You go to the yam, then there's no issue with minatayr anymore. According to this Havana, Rava is not bothered that there's chametz in my house. There's chametz in my house. It's not matzah. It's like a mapoilus. Abayei is also not bothered about it. So you could stay there a whole Pesach with a house full of chametz. The Rabbanon will tell you to do Bittle. The Rabbanon will tell you to do Bittle where you are when Erev Pesach comes. It's a good thing to do Bittle, right? By the Mapoilus, it's clear because you may uncover it. Over there you could do Bittle, maybe in case he decides to go back, whatever it is to cover their bases. But Minatayra, you're good to go.
Well, today's days everywhere is
So we answered one question, that if you don't come back, you're good. Right?
Is matzah to you or to everyone?
To you.
But if it's covered for everyone else, it means it's matzah. Is it the Metzias matzah or is it just to you?
Were you going into my house to take my chametz?
No, but it's accessible.
It's accessible in theory.
It's not under rubble.
It's not accessible to me. If my wife stays home, then she has to get rid of it. She's also. We're talking about if my wife and children are not home. If they're home, then the chiyuv is on them. I mean the chiyuv,
It's the owner. It's not that it's accessible.
Yeah. If you. Yeah. Yeah.
So today the whole world is sensitive to over plants, so it's had to be shut. And to Pesach, for the 8 days, you see the camera, you can see it. You can go back to everywhere. That's wrong.
Here it's also diet. Here also you can go back before Pesach, the middle of Pesach. But nonetheless, right now it's not Monsey. But here's the problem. Now we'll understand Rashi. As long as you're away, it's fine. Comes Rava and says, and this is the diuk of Rashi, that what? When you come back on Pesach, yeah? Kashera'ohu, when you see it, you're over on it. What's pshat? The pshat is, it would be just like, I have a pile of rubble in my house, and I'm good, but suddenly, my neighbor comes, takes a shovel, and exposes it. In 1 second now, I have chametz in my house. Now, I'm an onus. It's not my fault. So what's the halacha right now? Right now, go get rid of the chametz. Right now. So right now, I'm not even on Issur yet. But let's say I sit on my couch and I say, let me first read the newspaper, right? Or watch a clip. And then I'll be this. Now the 5 minutes I'm over by Rabbi Monsey. So Abayei tainas, before you left, when you left, you were good. You plan to come back. Before 30 days, I don't have to think about Pesach. That's Abayei's shitta. Just like according to the first explanation, I don't have to think about Shema Yaveh La'achlai. B'meila, gei gesund taheit. Are you going to come back in the middle of Pesach? You'll come back. It's like somebody taking a shovel and undoing the rubble. And what happens? What happens is, till now you were an onus. Till now you weren't over. Now you're an onus. Suddenly you came into the chametz. Get rid of it. That's Abayei's shitta. Came Rava and said, I have a problem with you. Why? Because when the person comes back, it's like the gal was opened up from the chametz, and you're going to become a chuyev. So it's not only when Rashi says ra'o, does he mean when you actually see it? He means l'chayda when there's the potential to see it. When you come off the subway station, well, there were no subway. When you come off the port, and you walk into your house, it's becoming motzui, right? So then you know by your Monsey. Now you could say you're an anus. You'll soon get to it. Okay. So you're over on by your Monsey, but you're an anus. So like we learned before, you want to be at Mavai, but you can't. But now you can run into a bunch of problems because right now, essentially, you're over on by your Monsey. So as long as you're an anus, you're talking not over. But at the moment you're not an anus, you're going to be over. Now just say, do Bittle. When you come home, do Bittle. It'll be easy. You can't do Bittle. It's Pesach. So Mele Rava says, it's not pshat. Do me a favor. Before you leave, you do beer chametz. So you don't have any chametz in the house. Now, when you come home, you won't be over. Well, if you're away, gesund taheit. I know you're not mechuyev. You already did beer chametz. If you're not coming home, Rava says, then don't. I don't care. Within shloshim yom, Abayei agrees with Rava. If you're coming back, you already have to worry about Pesach, and you're coming back to a house filled with chametz. So you have to do beer. But if it's before 30 days and you're not coming back, I'm also not concerned. Abayei says, I don't have to think about Pesach. Get rid of it.
Why?
Come home. It's like somebody exposed the rubble. What do you do? Get rid of it. It's the middle of Pesach. You can't do Bittle in the middle. Huh?
Why is Abayei saying that?
You see, why wouldn't they buy a home like Rava once already after 30 days? Fine. No,
What's the
before
big deal
30
about
days,
Bittle?
but once already.
Oh, you mean Rava said you can't do Bittle now? Apparently, you have to say, very good. Rava says you can't do Bittle on Pesach. So Abayei could say, okay, don't do Bittle on Pesach. If you're coming back, do Bittle right before Pesach. Right? It seems like, and this is another concern of Rava, that since you're far away, you may forget Bittle. Because when do we do Bittle? You buy the chametz, you finish b'dika, you do Bittle. You burn chametz, you do Bittle. Here, the Bittle is not coming with anything. Because you're far away, you don't have chametz there. You could do it. But it's very likely. So Taka, if you do Bittle, then you're good. Everybody says you're good. You come back, and it's fine. The only problem is, Shema Yaveh La'achlai. It's not a problem of everybody Rabbi Monsey. But if you didn't do Bittle and you come back on Pesach, right? You had a plan to come back on Pesach. Rava says you're going to be stuck in a situation of Bal Yira, Bal Yimotzi, and therefore we're Mechayev Biur. You could do the Bittle before you leave, yes. But he's not doing Bdika before he leaves. According, huh?
But he has to do Bittle anyway, before Pesach. Wherever he leaves, he has to do Bittle.
Minat Torah, if you do Biur, you don't need to do Bittle. And if it's Mapoilus, you don't have to do Bittle.
That's why we do it for the Shus here.
No, we could do both. Einachanami. Even according to Rava, L'Poil Mamish, Halacha, we say, if you're leaving before 30 days and you're not planning to come back, right? So you don't have to do Biur Chametz. You should still do Bittle before Pesach. Just like when you have rubble, you do Bittle. But that's a Chiyuv de Rabbani. You're not Mechuyev Minat Torah in it, because it's not Yemotze.
I sell it to a guy. Like Matzui, you're away. Let's say you go away.
You're right. If you go away for Pesach before 30 days, according to this interpretation, there are others, but according to this interpretation, you do not have to do B'dika or Biur if you're not planning to come back for Pesach. You could leave it the way it is, even if you don't sell it to a guy, because you're not over on lo yimotze. That's the chiddush of this shitta. You're not over. Again, if you're not coming back, if you might come back, then it's not good. But if you're not coming back, you're good. Midirabanan, though, you should do bittul erev Pesach. You should do bittul erev Pesach midirabanan. But this is a gevaldik pshat. I should just add, even in Rashi, why would Rashi not say there was an inyan of bittul? Rashi in the earlier said there was an inyan of Bittle.
Because he says when you see it, then you're over.
Huh?
When you come back and you see it, then you're over. You're over. And so he didn't do Bittle. If he did Bittle, he wouldn't be over.
Well, let's remember. Why do we do B'dika and Biur? We do B'dika and Biur, right? Tosfos says because we may come to eat it. Rashi didn't say that. Rashi says you do b'dika not to be over on Bayira by Yemotze. According to Rashi, as we explained then in the Shurim and Abayei, Rashi holds that Bittle is different than Tosfos. Tosfos holds Bittle is hefker. It's ownerless. Rashi doesn't hold that's Bittle. Rashi holds Bittle is a special halacha tashbisu. That you actually look at the chametz and you say in your mind that it's offer. According to Tosfos, Bittle is very easy. According to Rashi, Bittle is complicated. According to Tosfos, making something ownerless, I don't care how you feel. You feel, you don't feel. It's ownerless. I say this sefer is ownerless. But according to Rashi, Bittle is not saying, it's not a legal statement. Bittle is an emotional statement. And what if you don't mean it? You're over on Bayira by Yemotze. That's another reason why they made B'dika and Biur, because the Bittle may not be B'leiv Shalom. The Bittle may not be sincere. The Bittle is not sincere. You're over on Bayira by Yemotze. If you say the whole reason for Biur is Shema Yaveh La'achloi, then the Ran's Pshat in the Gemarah is very nice. They're talking about you did Bittle. The only problem is eat it, not eat it. And since that's the whole problem, so therefore they said don't do Biur. But if Rashi holds that you're doing Biur not only because you may come to eat it, but because the Bittle is not good, so just say leave and don't do Biur, right? And you'll do Bittle and the whole problem is eating. That's not the issue. The issue was that the Bittle may not be good. So he teaches the Gemarah completely different. There was no Bittle either. You Tosfos what I'm saying. If you tine the whole inyan of B'dika Shema Yaveh La'achloi, so then you could say very geschmack that Rava and Abayei both believed there was Bittle, everything is good, it's perfect, you're not over Bayira, it's nothing. And that's why if you're not coming back, I couldn't care less. Who cares? There's no chametz, you're good. Right? If you're coming back, Rava says, whoa, Shema Yaveh La'achloi, you're going to come to eat it. So therefore, be mevayer chametz. But it's talking about there was a case of Bittle. But if you're leaving before 30 days, I don't care. What do I care? I completely don't care. Why don't I care? Because there's no chashash of Shema Yaveh La'achloi. And even according to Abayei, he's not chashash before 30 days. He doesn't worry about Pesach. The main thing is you're going to do Bittle. But according to Rashi, why do you need B'dika and Biur? Not only because you may come to eat it, because you shouldn't be over on Bayira by Yemotze, because he's afraid that Bittle is never good enough. So you tell me there's Bittle, who cares? What do you mean, who cares? You're away. Even if you're away, but if your Bittle is not sincere, and here really the Bittle may not be sincere, you know why? You're leaving all your good chametz in your house. It's even more chashash the bittul is not sincere. And then the whole time, Pesach, by Rabbi Monsey. So you need biur. So that's why Rashi couldn't learn the Gemarah so geschmack. There was bittul, even though the previous Gemarah Rashi held that there was bittul when the koifol of kli, suddenly here he changed. Because he holds that biur is to make sure that the bittul is good. So what are you going to gain? You ran away from your house. You don't have access to the chametz to eat it. But the bittul may still not be b'leiv shalom. So Rashi learns a completely different mahalach. If you go away from your house, you don't need bittul. Because there's no Abayei Monsey. The only problem is if you come home, Abayei says, you'll come home, you'll deal with it. And Rava says, no. If you know you're coming home, make sure you get rid of it before. I should just add one vart, and that's a vart from the Chaim Sofer, who says you could even taichin Rashi. You could even taichin Rashi that there was Bittle, just like we learned before, another mahalach in the Gemarah. Very simple. There's Bittle, they're only talking about different mahalach. There was Bittle, they're only talking about biur. Rashi agrees exactly with that. So why does Rashi get so upset? You're going to come back, you're going to be over? Some Sofer Tain is what? You could be oiker your Bittle. When you see the chametz and it's geschmack, you say, I like this. It's not offer anymore. And in the middle of Pesach, you uproot your bittul, and suddenly you're over by your Abayei Monsey. That's how he teaches Rashi. Kshira'o, when you see it. That would mean kshira'o literally, because according to we said, it doesn't mean when you see it. It means when you could see it. But here it means kshira'o, when you see it, and you see it's geschmack. Ashena Bittle, 2,000 bottle, blue label, red label, whatever it is, black label, or $10,000, whatever it is, it's 930 years old. The queen used to look at it. So, over Allah, it's a geschmack, so you're oiker the bittul. That's the problem of Rava. That's the problem of Rava. So, therefore, get rid of it. So, when you come back, you're good. Abayei says, I'm not worried. He comes back, He sees it, don't be oiker the bittul. The problem a little bit in that is that Rashi starts off, when you come back, you're going to be over, and then you can't be at Mavatal. But we just said you were Mavatal it before, right? So you have to say, Rashi means, yeah, you have charata from your bittul, and then you want to be at Mavatal again, and you can't do it then. Okay, but that's how the Chaim Sofer learns in Rashi. Comes Rabbi Yosef Engel. Rabbi Yosef Engel was one of the great Goinim of Poland before the war. He passed away Aleph Cheshvan Tov Reish Pei, 1919. Rabbi Yosef Engel was from Ternov and Bendin in Poland, and then a Rava Rosh Yeshiva in Krakow, and in Vienna from the First World War to go to Vienna. That's why I think he passed away. He has a Sefer Lekach Toiv. Rabbi Yosef Engel was a brilliant mind. In the Sefer Lekach Toiv, he explains what's the machlokes of Abayei and Rava. What's the svaras of machlokes? And he raises a fascinating question. We all know there's two types of mitzvahs. There's mitzvahs that are limited to time, and there's mitzvahs that are timeless. The mitzvah of Emunah in Hashem is 24/7, no different Sunday, Monday, Shabbos, Erev Shabbos, Motzei Shabbos, night, day, morning, dawn, it's always. The mitzvah of Shofar is Shazman Grama, we call it. It's only Rosh Hashanah. There's no chiyuv to blow Shofar before, after. You could do it, it's a waste of time. Right? We all understand it. Megillah, Shazman Grama, Purim. Chanukah candles on Chanukah. We call it Mitzvah Sesser Shazman Grama. Tefillin is called Mitzvah Sesser Shazman Grama. You could do it by day, not by night. You don't do it Shabbos and Yom Tov. These are called Mitzvah Shazman. Lulav, Shazman Grama. We have a klal marshal that women are exempt of most Mitzvah Sesser Shazman Grama. Shofar, Sukkah, Lulav, Sfris Hoimer, Shachas Ben Chamayriv, the times. Mitzvahs that are connected. Mayriv has a time. Tefillah is not a Mitzvah Sesser Shazman Grama. Tefillah is always. But the times of Tefillah, that's Shazman Grama. What's pshat in this? Says Rabbi Yosef Engel. There's the meaning of Mitzvah Sesser Shazman Grama that when the time comes, that's when you become obligated in the mitzvah. In other words, when Sukkot comes, now there's a new obligation. Reb Yid, you have to shake lulav. You have to sit in a sukkah. That's when the obligation begins. Or he says, no. Mitzvah Sesser Shazman Grama, you're obligated all year in the Mitzvah Sesser Shazman Grama. Right now, I'm obligated to eat matzah on Pesach. I fulfill the mitzvah on Pesach, but the obligation is all year around. Let me give an example. I'm going to an island in the middle of the summer. I'm going away to an island. Okay? I may be there Rosh Hashanah. I don't take a shofar. Was I mevatel a mitzvah's essay or not? When Rosh Hashanah comes, I'm on Onos. Do you say Onos Rachmana Patre? What am I supposed to do? If a person there were Jews in Siberia in the prisons, they didn't have shofars. They're mevatel, they're Onos Rachmana Patre. The Yidden who didn't have matzah in the camps. It's an Onos. I went away on Hanukkah to an island. I may be the Pesach. I didn't take matzah. Come say the night, I don't have matzah. What should I do? What should I do? I'm an Onos. Do you say that? Depends how you look at it. On Hanukkah, am I mechuyev to eat matzah on Pesach? What do you say? Do you say the chiyuv of matzah on Pesach starts on Pesach? On Hanukkah, I don't have to think about Pesach. Or you say no. A whole year I'm mechuyev in matzah on Pesach. The chiyuv of a whole year is that when Pesach comes, you got to eat matzah. Right now, Hanukkah, there's an obligation on you to eat matzah on Pesach. It's not an obligation for today. It's an obligation of 4 months. But it's an obligation right now. If you left to an island knowing you might be there Pesach without matzah, you will mevatel a mitzvos asay. You will mevatel a mitzvos asay. The chiyuv doesn't start on Pesach, or Erev Pesach, or even Shloshim Yom Koydem Achag. The chiyuv is all year. The difference of mitzvah asay shas mangram, shenas mangram is not when the obligation of the mitzvah is, only when the fulfillment of the mitzvahs. Here I fulfill the mitzvah 24 hours a day, Amunah. And here I can fulfill the mitzvah only on Chanukah or Purim or Sukkot or Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur. But the obligation, when is there an obligation to fast on Yom Kippur? Does Hashem put a chiyuv on me today? Yudchel, what's today's date? Huh? 26th. Yudches Teves. B'nai outside. Yeah? Does Hashem put a chiyuv on me, Yudches Teves, to fast on Yom Kippur? Was sagst du? Huh? L'chayre, was sagst du Yom Kippur? Yom Kippur, you have to fast on Yom Kippur. Or you say no. Or you say no. Huh?
You have to live to that one.
Why don't you say that it exists and it's not fall until this month?
Okay, good. So the chiyuv exists. A yid called me in Sashayla Poskim. The doctor said if he fasts on Soim Gedalia, he won't be able to fast Yom Kippur. Soim Gedalia is a chiyuv to fast, but it's not in the Torah. Yom Kippur is much more stringent. What does he think now about Yom Kippur? It depends. When does the chiyuv of Yom Kippur begin? The chiyuv of Yom Kippur starts on Soim Gedalia, so right now you have a competition between Soim Gedalia and Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur wins. If the chiyuv of Yom Kippur starts Yom Kippur, now is Soim Gedalia. Fast. You know, in a few days, as a result of this, you're not going to fast on Yom Kippur. You're an onus. You're Teves? Very important question. Or you say, no, Yom Kippur is today also. If I know I'm going to do something today, yeah, I'll be Mekayim de Rabbanon, or be Mekayim a Minhig. And as a result of that, I won't be able to fast on Yom Kippur, or whatever. Do I do it or don't I do it? Do I have to think about it, Bichlal? Do I have to think about it? So you want to know why is it called Hazman Grama? Hazman Grama is not the Chiyuv. The Chiyuv is always. Hazman Grama is the Kiyum HaMitzvah, has a certain time. I'm mechuyev now to shake a lulav on Sukkot. If I travel now to some far island in Africa to do research on apes and gorillas, for 2 years, I get a grant for 2 years, and I don't take a lulav. Was I mevatel a mitzvah essay? Or I say, no, what, I have to think today about a lulav? Erev Sukkot, before Shki, I go get a lulav. Come in and get them for Samim. And you want the best.
You don't prepare for Shabbos, you don't have Shabbos.
I know. So there's a din, Erev Shabbos, to prepare. There's a pasuk, Ve'echinu es asher yaviu. You're right. There's a chiyuv 30 days before Pesach. You got to prepare. That itself is a chiyuv. But what about before 30 days? Tainas Rabbi Yosef Engel. This is the machlokes Abayei and Rava. Abayei holds the chiyuv of Zman Grama begins when the Yom Tov begins, or at least 30 days before. But Meila Abayei says you're leaving your house on Chanukah. Pesach, Shemo Yovel Ochlo, you're going to come to eat chametz by your Rabbi Yid. That's this Chanukah. You want to be mavaya, good, but there's no chiyuv. There's no chiyuv. The Rebbeinu Shalom doesn't tell me, think about Pesach now. I don't have to think about Pesach. Chab genik tzaras to think about. Dayel tzara b'shaita. When Pesach comes, I'll think about Pesach.
It's like it's not in front of you, right?
It's not here. It's not here. It's not here. Rava says, excuse me, what? There's no such a thing. Today's also a chiyuv on Pesach. Today's also the chiyuv of Pesach. The chiyuv now is that when Pesach comes, you got to have matzah. And if you're running away somewhere, it's not going to be matzah, you're mevatla mitzvos. Doesn't work that way. But now let's see the Gemarah. So Abayei says, if you leave before 30 days, even if you're coming back, so you say you're going to come back to a house filled with chametz and you may come to eat it. Okay, so don't eat it. But you can't say that the Torah is mechayev me to do a biur today, because I have to worry about then when the chiyuv of Pesach don't start today. So maybe you don't have to worry. Of course, when you come back, you have to get rid of the chametz, the hest Isaac.
That's where the Jews get such a worried personality. What's going to be within the year? For every mitzvah that we might do.
Don't take this in an OCD fashion. Take this in a relaxed fashion. Okay? I used the word sorry. I didn't mean that. It means Hashem gives you an opportunity, yeah? It's like the anniversary already begins a year before the anniversary. You finish the anniversary party, you already start preparing for next year. The birthday party doesn't begin by the birthday. It already starts, Monsey, the previous birthday, you start preparing for the next birthday. That's how you have to see it.
You don't have to say the chiddush of lo yemutz.
You still have to say the chiddush. Because I don't have to worry. But l'poyel mamish, yeah? If I'm coming back on Pesach, you still have to say, because if I'm going to be away from Pesach, I'm going to over and by Rabbi Monsey, yeah? So what's the Havana here? Pesach is going to come. And you're right. Today I don't have to worry. But Abayei says, Ezo chacham aroyas hanoilad. Erev Pesach is going to come, and then you do have to worry. And you're going to be in England, and you have chametz. You're going to be over. Today I don't have to worry. So Abayei has to say that. Rava also. That's what we explained, lo yimatzei, or that there was Bittle. But Abayei says, but I don't have to worry. And say that today, there should be, I have to be in a situation, I don't have to today be mechuyev, yeah? In chiyuvim that come later. I'm not mechuyev today.
So Abayei, if you travel to an island, there's no matzah, you can't find matzah. Before 30 days, you travel there.
Yeah. According to this, yeah. You traveled in the summer, you didn't take a shofar. There was no chiyuv on you, according to this.
What if you're planning to stay?
Even if you were planning. Is it a good idea to take a shofar? Yeah, because you're not going to be mekayim the mitzvah. According to this svara.
So the Abayei will say that the Rosh Hashanah, if he's in Africa, he doesn't have to go shofar. He doesn't have mitzvah she'ez.
He has a mitzvah now, but he got no shofar. He's an onus, yeah. Abayei will say, be a chacham. You want to say that even with beer chametz, even with lo yematzei, since now you went away and you were allowed to go away, so even if there's going to be chametz, I'm an onus, I can't do anything, right? I mean, you could do bittle. So Abayei would say to do bittle. But it's a little hard to touch the Gemarah like that, because then they have to say it clearly, that when Erev Pesach comes, you should do it. That's why Rashi learns that no, it's not a problem. But the question is, when Pesach comes, you're going to come back, Shema Yavel Achlai, right? He says, okay, so don't eat it. Or you say when you come back, you're going to be over by Rabbi Yimatzeh. Right now, I don't have to worry about that. Where Rava says, just one second, where Rava says no. Now, even Abayei holds that within 30 days, there's something of Pesach that begins, because before 30 days before Pesach, start the Hachanas of Pesach. So even Abayei says, if you're leaving within 30 days and you're going to come back, think about Pesach. Mele think about Bayi Rabbi Yimatzeh. But if you're not coming back, you're good. Rava says different. Rava says the Chiyuvim are all year. Because the Chiyuvim are all year, so therefore you always have to think about Pesach. Pesach is now. Pesach is not then. Pesach, in terms of chiyuv, is right now. Any issue you're going to have, Pesach is right now. If you're going to have an issue of chametz in your house, you may come to eat it. You have a chiyuv now to take care of it. If you're going to come to your house and you might be over them by your Rabbi Yimatzeh because you're going to delay the burning, right? or you're going to be an anus. I say, don't be an anus. Take care of it now. Don't be an anus. That's Rava's svara. Rava also holds even more. When you say within Shloshim Yom, before Shloshim Yom, you have to prepare for Pesach, it doesn't just mean you have to start thinking about Pesach. It means the chiyuvim of Pesach begin 30 days before. So just like we say, B'dikas Chametz is when the night of Erev Pesach. That's the Zman, L'chatchila. And what if you can't do it the night of Erev Pesach? Why can't you do it the night of Erev Pesach? Because you're going to be away. Do it the night before. And what if you can't do it the night before? Do it the night before. And what if you can't? 30 days. Do B'dikas Chametz, Bir Chametz. Erev Pesach becomes 30 days early. That's the Zman that the Chiyuvim of Pesach begin. So you say, but you're not coming back. I don't care if you're not coming back. And what if you leave your house Erev Pesach afternoon, you're not coming back? You don't have to do B'dikas Chametz? You do B'dikas Chametz. The night Erev Pesach. What if a guy leaves Erev Pesach in the afternoon and he's not coming back? You have to do B'dikas Chametz. The night before Pesach, B'dikas Chametz. It's a mitzvah now. You say, yeah, but you're not going to eat it, and you're not this, and you're not that. However you touch it.
Can you mix it bracha too?
Yeah. Yeah. So he says, I don't care, you're leaving within 30 days, you're not going to come back, so what? You're mechuyev B'dikas Chametz. We pass him like Rava. No, Shofar doesn't have this halacha. But Megillah, you could do Kol HaChodesh Kasher L'Kriyas HaMegillah. You have different inyanim where it starts. Yeah, Shofar not. Shofar not. Shofar has to be on Rosh Hashanah. B'dikas Chametz, by definition, is a hechsher mitzvah. B'dikas Chametz is a hachana. It's not the mitzvah itself. You understand? The mitzvah is the chashbisu. Yeah, you're not going to eat matzah shloshim yom koydem achag. Yeah? They say a Monsey, there was a chassid from the Tzemach Tzedek. His name was Kusha Lepler. And he was another man, and he came to the city of Lubavitch, and so the Tzemach Tzedek sent with a shliach, Yud Gimel Nissen, he sent everything for the Seder. To him, he should have matzah, mit maror, mit charoises, alts. He got it, and he ate it up immediately. They said to him, Kushi said, the Rebbe had geschickt. I got it from the Rebbe. I ate it. So okay, but you can eat matzah, shleishim yom koydem achag. But Mele Rava Tainas, the Chiyuvim start earlier, so you have to worry. Where Abayei says, no, the way the Lekach Toif puts it, in his Sefer, the beautiful Sefer. So he says, I'm going to take your question just in a moment. Svira Leila Abayei, the Ein HaChiyuv Lifnei Hazman. So even if you're coming home, you're not mechuyev. Right? Unless within 30 days, because then you have a chiyuv d'Rabbanan to think about Tzarchi HaPesach M'shalom B'Dash. Rava holds as a chiyuv before Zman HaMitzvah. So if you're coming back, you have to be mechuyev to be mevayir. You shouldn't be over on Yom Tov when you come back home. Unless you hold ein daitoi lachzor, then it's tolui within Lamed or before Lamed. Within Lamed, even ein daitoi lachzor, yechayev. Why? Because already chiyuv hashbasa is there, even if you're not going to be in your house on Yom Tov. Just like if you leave Pesach, you still have to do bdika the night before, even if you leave Erev Pesach, because it's a chiyuv atzmi. The Rabbanon say that there's a chiyuv from 30 days to do b'dikas chametz. I don't care if you're not coming back. Just like the night before Pesach, that's a second vart. And the first vart is that the chiyuvim start 30 days. It could even be, and that's what I'm thinking, it could even be, this you may be right, that Abayei would go so far and say, you don't even have to worry about Bal Yiro, Bal Yimotze on Chanukah. And therefore, even if you're coming back on Pesach, right now I don't have a chiyuv to worry about it. So even if I'm going to come back, right? Even if I'm going to come back, I don't have to think about it.
Once the 30 days come, then you have to do business. According to it, I mean, wherever you go, there's always going to be...
In other words, even the Bayirah Bayimotz I don't have to worry about. So now you come back, you're going to be over. Fine. Fine. You're an onus. You're an onus. You're an onus. What did we learn before from Shulchan Aruch Harav in the Kesef Mishnah? When you're an onus, you're not over. Because you're only over if you could. If you can't, again, Abayei says, I came back, I'm sorry, what should I do? I came back, you're right. I'm an onus. Now, be mavayir. You won't be over. Do I have to worry about it a few months before? I don't have to worry. Yeah.
So finding of onus requires you to get out of jail ticket, right? You can't do it. So what if you contribute to the mindset? How much can a person...
Tchilas b'pshiyah v'soifa b'aynes. Yeah, tchilas b'pshiyah v'soifa
He
b'aynes.
didn't think about it. He went intentionally to...
Right.
And he didn't bring matzah.
Right, but that's the question. When does the chiyuv... Is it pshiyah? Is it called pshiyah? Is it negligence?
It means there was no chiyuv.
Atazai. Atazai.
In the 30 days, you could say it's philosophy.
Yeah. Let me give an example. A guy gives me a loan for $50,000. I have to pay him back Sunday morning, 10 o'clock. Yeah? When does the chiyuv to pay him back start? Sunday, 10 o'clock? So comes Sunday, 10 o'clock, he says, money, my money. I said, oh, let me go find it. I need now 2 months to get it. It doesn't work that way. Why? Because we understand by Sunday, 10 o'clock, I need the money. If you got to work on it 2 months before, figure it out. Right? Is that pshat mitzvahs essay shazman grama? Yeah. So could be loy Abayei, even by Rabbi Matzah. Even if you wouldn't say the svar of loy matzah biyadcha, Abayei would say you're an onus. You have a house full of chametz. It's not a problem because now you don't have to worry about it. And still, we still have to teach this word of loy matzah because Rava also holds that if you're away from the house, you're not over. Rashi clearly says, when are you going to be over? When you come back. So that means even Rava, who says that Hasman Grama starts earlier, says you're not going to be over, right? So we have to say the word. Why, according to Rava, won't you be over? He holds that you do have to worry about Pesach. The answer is, because you won't be over, because it's Chametz Rafal Pilus. So it's two different mahalchim, how you teach. In other words, am I mechuyev today in all Taryag mitzvahs? Or not? I'm not mechuyev today in every single mitzvah. I'm not mechuyev right now in Sfiras HaOmer. Am I mechuyev now Sfiras HaOmer? Or not mechuyev in Sfiras HaOmer? You say, what does Sfiras HaOmer have to do with now? Says Rava, of course it has to do with now. You're mechuyev now. In other words, to put it practically, are you mechuyev to remember your wife's birthday? Even 6 months before. Avada. Yeah?
Kavana doesn't play a role at all. If I say, I'm going to intentionally not do this because luckily it's not a problem and I don't feel like doing it. And I know that I'm doing something wrong. Does that play a factor at all? Lahachas, I'm doing lahachas.
Even if it's lahachas, it's not the... Even Abayei will tell you, take a shofar. The question is, can I make a chiyuv on the person to be mashbis chametz? Can I make a chiyuv to go and spend the whole night before my vacation? Right? And do beer chametz. That's the question. Everyone is moed if you do beer chametz, a good zach. B'chlal to go gluten-free is a wonderful thing, right? All you nutritionists will tell you that carb is the worst thing that ever happened to the world.
How could you be an onus if you did a lahachas?
Because when the chiyuv comes, you weren't lahachis. When the chiyuv comes, you weren't lahachis. You understand?
Yeah, so you're lahachis before.
You're not mekayim the mitzvah essay. That's why you should take a shofar, even according to Abayei. But are you mevatel the mitzvah essay? He says, no, you're an einus. You have a house filled with chametz, you're everyone by Rabbi Monsey. What am I supposed to do? And what happens if it's Erev Pesach in the morning and chas v'shalom, the police arrest me? And I can't do beer chametz, what am I supposed to do? Nothing. I have a house filled with chametz. I did a b'dikah, and the chametz is there, and Pesach comes, and this happened to Jews. And they talk about the Soviet Union, where my grandfather was. You did everything. You even by Rabbi Monsey? No, you're an onus. By Rabbi Monsey means I could be mevayer, and I'm choosing not to. You tied both my hands behind the back. What am I supposed to do? Am I mekayim tashbisu? I'm not. A Jew in Siberia didn't have tefillin. He wasn't mekayim tefillin. But was he mevatel tefillin? Is there an oynish? For sure not. The Gemara says, onus rachmana patra. So the question is this called an onus? It's a very fascinating question. Do I have to worry now about Pesach, about Shavuos, about Sukkot, about a shofar and Rosh Hashanah and a lulav and Sukkah? You know, today, Baruch Hashem, again, we live in times of prosperity. There's no shortage of lulavim and esroigim and hadassim and shofris and all that. I'm saying there were times that Jews didn't have a shofar, yeah? So it's a very practical question. You're traveling somewhere and you know there may not be a shofar. Do you have to say, pack a shofar? Rava says, yeah. Abayei says, it's fine. Height, do what you got to do today. Huh?
Beer chametz is different. Not like you have something.
You're right, because beer b'dikah starts a night before. A night before, but not 7 months before. Everyone holds it starts a night before, midrabanan, but not 7 months before. Rava says it starts 30 days before. You're right. Abayei doesn't say it starts 30 days before. Abayei says within 30 days you have to start thinking. In other words, since Abayei holds the chiyuv of mitzvahs is not a whole year. So even within 30 days, he's much more lenient. He says, think about it. But it's not that the chiyuv begins. Worry about it. Rava says, no, 30 days before the chiyuv mamash begins. There's a chiyuv b'dikas chametz. In other words, the night before you leave, if you're leaving Rosh Chodesh Nisan, the night before you leave, you have a chiyuv b'dika, just like the night of Erev Pesach. And this is a very practical halacha. The halacha is like Rava, yeah. It's a very practical halacha. Unless you're selling your house. If you're selling your house, it's not your chametz. I don't care. There's no b'dika, there's no beer, there's no bittle. It's not your house. If I sell my house a month before Pesach to a goy, what's the issue? You understand? I'm talking about it's my house, it's my chametz. I have to do b'dikas chametz. According to who? Abayei, no. Ein daitei lachzer before 30 days. Nothing.
So why shouldn't he do Bittle when it comes in Pesach? And he knows he's going to come back in the middle of Pesach.
According to Abayei, if he does Bittle before Pesach, right, and he knows he has to come back.
Why is it not a chiv to do it?
Yeah, because it's within 30 days. Now you should.
No, but he left before 30 days.
No, but eventually you'll get within.
Shadav, it's enough.
You need
We all agree that you have to do Bittle. Shadav is enough, right?
I don't know.
Well, if you're talking about Torah or Midirabbanan, you're talking about Torah or Midirabbanan. Minat Torah, according to Abayei, he knows he's going to come back. So you're saying Erev Pesach in the morning he should do Bittle because he knows that he's going to come back. Min HaTorah, even though now he doesn't have to do it because Tashbisu, but since it's Erev Pesach, so it's already the Zman of the Chiyuv. So even though he's not over, but again, Min HaTorah is he mechuyev not to do Bittle?
Because of the Yimutz.
It's a mapoilus. It's a mapoilus.
So if you have to come to the Chiddush of Mapoilus. Because if not, you should do Min HaTorah Bittle.
Good word. You're saying even according to Abayei, he should have done Bittul Min HaTorah in the morning, unless you say, because you could say Chanukah you don't have to worry, but Erev Pesach in the morning you have to do Bittul. Is that right? That even Abayei holds the word of Mapoilus Lo Yemotzi. Very good. Very good. Certainly Midrabanan you should. Yeah, Midrabanan we do both. But he's asking Min HaTorah. Very good. He's saying even according to Abayei, you have to say that there's the heter of Motzi. You don't, because the heter of Zman Grama that it's not mechuyev is only earlier than Pesach. But now it's already Erev Pesach. So l'kul alma you're mechuyev. So he should have said you have to do Bittul, and he doesn't say it according to this pshat in Rashi. So mainly you have to say Abayei also agrees with this heter, even if you hold that before the Zman achiyuv you don't have to think about it. Very good. Yeah, good gesagt. Say a good gesagt.
I thought that we are not that we know that Abayei said you are mechuyev Bittul, but Rashi said that the problem would be that the whole Bittul would be no good because of Roy. That's it. It says,
Yeah.
He may back down. You know, that was the problem.
Yeah, the reason why Rava wasn't satisfied. No, wait, Marsha says the reason why Rava is not satisfied with doing Bittul where you are, right? Which l'chayda will take care of all the problems. So the Chaim Sofer time is because you'll have charata from the Bittul. The Marsha says because you'll forget to do Bittul. Remember, you're not in a place where you're dealing with chametz. You went far away. You're not in your.
I'm saying the same thing. I would say maybe Abayei doesn't know you have to do Bittul because it may not even be good. Because if you come there,
No.
according to Rashi, they have all problem with that.
Why?
Because and does then it's charata.
If he has charata, you're right. If he has charata, but Abayei could say, in a normal situation, you have to worry about it. That's why you do beer. But since here you left before, so you don't have to worry about it. When the problem comes, the problem will come. Midrabanan, clearly. Chamesh nafel of mapoilus, the Rabbanan hold you have to do Bittul. But Min HaTorah, you're good. It's mavur. It's Baruch.
What's the understanding about Bittul? If no one holds something and never sold it, comes based on why it's truly on Bittul? It's hold it.
The answer is because the moment Erev Pesach, midday comes, legally you don't own the chametz. Yes, the halacha takes away the chametz from your authority, ownership. Erev chametz midday, God, who's the owner of the world, relinquishes your ownership of chametz. It's very important. You understand? Erev Pesach 12 midday, you cease to be the owner of the chametz. What do I mean? What does it mean you're the owner of something? Tell me practically what it means.
You could sell it.
You could sell it. You have equity in it. You have rights to it. Let's put it this. You have rights. I don't have rights to your jacket. What type of rights do I have to it? What am I supposed to do with it? I can't fix it. I can't take it. I can't use it. I can't enjoy it. I mean, without your permission. I can't give it to somebody. I'm not allowed to. It's gzela. You have rights to your sweater. You can put it on eBay. I don't know how much you're going to get. But you could put it on eBay. You could give it to somebody as a gift, right? You can enjoy it yourself when it's cold. What type of rights do you have in Chametz Erev Pesach after midday? Tell me the rights. Eat it? No. Feed it to your dog? No. Give it to your Gentile neighbor? No. Feed it to the fish? No. Sell it? No. What type of rights? Nothing. You have no rights. You have the same rights that you have in a grain of sand, in a particle of dust. What rights do you have in a particle of dust? Nothing. It's called useless. The chametz is useless. It's as worth to you as a particle of dust. The Torah is mafkirit. The Torah takes away your ownership from it.
Theoretically, as if you don't have to even sell it.
B'meila, you can't make it ownerless. There's nothing to make ownerless. You don't own it. For me to say this is ownerless, I have to have a relationship with it. This, which I own, I'm relinquishing. Imagine I come and I say, your house or your car is ownerless. You think there's legal validity to that? I make an announcement that your car is ownerless. Your car is not mine to make ownerless. It's yours. The chametz Erev Pesach after midday is not mine to say it's not mine anymore. It's worthless. So there's no bittle.
It's almost like we don't really have to sell the chametz.
Yes. If I do bittle Erev Pesach in the morning, it was mine. It's my challah. I say this is ownerless. It became ownerless. But after midday, it's not It's ownerless already, so I can't make it ownerless. I'll give you an example. Let's say I make something ownerless and you take it. And tomorrow I say, by the way, I want to announce it's ownerless. It's already ownerless. I don't have it. You understand?
Why would we put so much emphasis on selling the chametz?
Oh, so now you're asking, so why are you transgressing? So why are you transgressing by your Rabbi Monsey if it's not yours? The answer is it's not yours, but you're liable for it. We're going to learn later on Davav Amid Beis that there's two things in the world that are not yours, but you're liable for it. In other words, the Torah treats it as though it was yours in terms of liability.
Like Zela, like also it's yours without that you have to pay back the way it was when you stole it. Like the opinion of Zela, same knas that you own it. Similar to that or not?
Not mamish, no.
Because they're talking rights, maybe full rights to it.
It's like Borbir Shusarabim, yeah. Like a hazard in a public domain. If you dig a pit in a public domain, it's not yours. It's public property.
If you break it, you own it, even though you have no rights.
But so to speak, yeah. You have a liability in it. It's yours for liability. Who once said? Which somebody once said, yeah? The Jews are the chosen people, not always chosen for benefits. It's yours, but not for rights, only for wrongs.
It can be either rights or liabilities.
Right.
This class is brought to you by the yeshiva.net. Please help us continue the classes. Make even a small contribution at www.theyeshiva.net/donate.